start out the way I usually start out. After I put my foundation and color correct under my foundation and all that stuff, do my eyebrows. Actually, I would probably do the bronzing and the contouring and the highlighting before my eyebrows, but it's okay. So, holy grail, go-to. This is good for color correcting, but I use it mostly for highlighting, not like highlight like with sparkly stuff. This is just to highlight or to brighten up the under eyes. And I'm going to concentrate. You can I kind of feel with the product itself, I can feel that this is the top of my eye socket, basically my cheekbone, and down just a little bit on the side of the nose, just a tiny bit on the chin. Ignore my homing there, that's been chilling for the last 2.5 weeks, well 2 weeks, going on 3 weeks. It just likes it there. It likes it there, goes away for a little while, and then it's like, no, I'm coming home, and it comes back. So, whatever. With my MAC Prep and Prime, there's so many products that are out there now. There's a few at the drugstore. I want to say L'Oreal, they're like the Lumi sticks or something like that, that have something very, very similar with this very thin brush. Try with as steady a hand as I possibly can, which is not very steady at all, but I will try and just focus that on the center of the nose. And you don't really have to press too hard. So as you can see, I pressed a little too hard right there in the beginning. There's too much product there, but not a big deal. Just a little in this area here and right above Cupid's bow, just a little bit here to here, right underneath where I'm going to put my bronzer and contour. It is liquid. I'm going to go ahead and blend that in now before I add any of the bronzer or contour. I blend it in with one side, and then on the other side flip it and just kind of really blend that in, so it's not like harsh. We're not trying to create a spotlight, you know. If it starts to dry down too quickly like mine did because I talked too much, just a little Fix Plus. I love the smell of Fix Plus, I just do. And world, it's all about blending. I know this might look a little bit strange. It probably looks a lot a bit strange actually, but the process is what it is. It always looks a hot mess until you're done, you know? You really, really have to be patient and just blend. Blend, blend, blend. I think that's why a lot of people that I talk to that like makeup, enjoy doing makeup, but they say they just don't have the time or the patience for it. It really is a labor of love. I'm not going to lie. It certainly takes me longer now than it ever did to get ready. But when my kids were younger, I just didn't have time for it. I wouldn't take time out for myself to do my makeup, so I just didn't. So the process was much easier, but I feel I also didn't look as good. And not having time for myself. Not making time for myself, I should say. You really should make time for yourself. And this just happens to be what I like to do in my spare time. I like getting ready. I like doing all these different things. So find what it is that you like to do and go ahead and do that. I'm just gonna set where I put down that concealer with a powder first before I go in with the bronzer and the contour. That's how your makeup can start looking patchy. If you don't set certain areas as you go, it just kind of turns into a muddy mess on your face. And I've made that mistake many, many times. Now, I'm gonna go in with this bronzer. It's the Butter Bronzer by Physicians Formula. It smells It kind of smells like the beach, I would say. Kind of like that old school copper tone kind of smell. This is the light bronzer. Just going in with the fluffy brush and just kind of bronzing up the perimeter of the face here. Giving an illusion that I might have been kissed by the sun somewhere. I'm running the bronzer a little bit down my neck. Now I'm going in with one of my all-time favorites. I go back and forth between the Shade and Light palette from Kat Von D and the Hoola Bronzer. The Hoola Bronzer just happens to be the one I've been using lately, and I'm going in with this Morphe M105 brush. I like that it's fluffy. It's also thin, so I can go in a little bit more precisely, and it's also tapered to give a little bit more control. And just go in. You literally do have to suck in your cheekbones. At least I do. Mine are hidden. Not too much product here. Focus mostly here. But the reason I'm going down is to kind of create a bit more, some angles. My face is round, so I'm trying to create more of a triangular shape, if that makes sense. So that's what I'm going in sharply at the end of the jaw here where it meets my ear. And I'm letting it live there for a little while. Just go in, go in. Don't be scared. And just keep blending until literally it just stops blending. Or your hand falls off. Because you want it to look like a shadow, like your strong jawbone is creating that deep cavern and crease, and it's creating a shadow where it's just so angular, because it's not. And then a little more product and just bring it down. Now I'm going to take back into that same powder that we used before, and I'm really going to saturate this little beauty blender here and just go right in to that area, so that the shadow we created underneath it really stands out when we blend all this away. Now I'm going to go in with my favorite brush to contour my nose. This, I want to say, was an e.l.f. brush. It is an e.l.f. brush. It's an angled foundation brush. I don't know if they still carry this. I got this quite some time ago, but this just happens to be my favorite brush to contour my nose. And I just put a little product on the end here. I like the way it's curved here, so I can kind of literally go into that spot with little to no effort. And then you just buff and blend your life away, so it looks like a shadow and not like powder, you know? Just blend, 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 blend. You create the line you want and then work the product down. And I'm gonna take a little bit into this area here, so it looks like my lips are a bit fuller, and underneath here. Now I'm gonna do the same to the other side, and I will be right back. I'm gonna go ahead and put the blush on right before I kind of buff away the bake. Now for blush, I'm using this. It's kind of like a tawny pink kind of color, if that makes sense. Dusty, not too pink. This is a Tarte blush, and it's the name of it is Partey. I'm focusing it on the apples of the cheeks here. A little smile, and then going up. And then just have it meet your temple, basically. I don't want to do the old school kind of thing. Very, very small strokes. Just taking fluffy brush, no product, and blending and removing the powder underneath. And I kind of go over my entire face. and it kind of blends in all the products that I just put on. So they kind of all meld and melt together. Now, to get rid of that powderiness that sometimes happens, go ahead and use spritz of MAC Fix Plus. So I'm gonna go ahead and do my eye makeup and then come back for the highlight, because that's when I usually put my highlight on. I put my highlight on right before I put on my lipstick as the second to the last step in my beauty routine. So I'm gonna go ahead and do my eyes, and then I will come right back. Okay, as you can see, I did the rest of my makeup, and I'm gonna go ahead and do the actual highlighting. What I've been liking for myself recently is a liquid highlight. You can use whatever liquid highlight you have. I have a few. This one just happens to be my favorite of the moment. And it just comes in this little, you know, dropper kind of thing, and I've had it for a while, and it's lasted me a really long time because I don't use too much. So just gonna start out. I don't even really use the dropper part of it. I just dip it in the product, and then whatever's kind of on the dropper itself, I place. So I don't really like squeeze it out, you know what I mean? I tap it in with my finger first. Sometimes I will only use my fingers. I have only used my fingers before, but for this tutorial I'm going to show you how I do it with both. Just going on the high points there, and then just taking a nice beauty blender and really pressing it into the skin. Not really blending it so much anymore. I'm just making sure there's no like crazy harshness that you can't see where the product begins or ends. That's the point of this. Just press that and go over the top of that with another highlight if you want. I'll show you how that looks. And I'm gonna go in with one of my old school favorites. Just happens to be Soft and Gentle by MAC, but you can use whatever highlight you want. Very, very little, and just go over where you put that liquid down. And that will really, that'll stand out big time. Now, on a normal day-to-day basis, I usually only do one or the other. It's been liquid mostly, so I'll just do the liquid and then that's it. But for this tutorial, I'll show you how to do both. Let's do the same thing to the other side. And I go pretty high on the cheekbone here. My cheekbone is actually right here. It's hidden under all these layers, you know what I'm saying? So I know some people put their highlight a bit lower. I don't. I feel like my face is round enough as it is. I want the high points to be a bit higher so it looks like my cheeks are lifted a little bit. I don't know. That's probably not what happens, but you know. I'm gonna do what I can. I'm gonna do what I can. Whatever's left on my finger, honestly, I'm just gonna kind of rub that on my nose a little bit. Just for a little bit of a sheen, but I will say by, I don't know, in about an hour, hour and a half, I'm gonna have my natural sheen come out anyways, because I kind of have oily skin. So I don't necessarily need to highlight the tip of my nose, but that is it. That is the end of my bronzing, contouring, highlighting routine. I hope it was helpful to you. I hope you learned a little bit, something different that you didn't know before, or maybe you didn't and you just spent some time with me because you like the sound of my ramblings. I don't know. But if there's any questions that you have that I didn't answer, please feel free to leave that down in the comments. I respond to all my comments as fast as I possibly can. I love talking to you guys. So yeah, that is it. Thank you so much for visiting me today. I appreciate it so much, and I'll see you again next time. Bye.